I woke to the roar of heavy machinery ripping through my backyard, shredding 16 years of sweat and sacrifice. Standing there, smug as ever, was Margaret Hensley, the new head of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. Watching contractors tear down the retention dam that had shielded 27 homes from floods. All because I wouldn't cough up her ridiculous $927 monthly protection fees for a dam I built to save our neighborhood. She thought she'd finally broken me, the stubborn old engineer who wouldn't bend to her fabricated authority. What she didn't know was that I had every permit, every safety report, and a paper trail proving my dam was rock-solid legal. And in just 48 hours, when the storm hit, she'd learn why you don't cross a hydrologist who spent 42 years outsmarting water. It was a crisp September morning in 2024, in the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, Virginia, when the certified letter arrived. The mail carrier made me sign for it like it was top-secret intel. The return address screamed trouble, Willow Creek HOA. Marked, urgent legal notice. I'd lived here for 25 years, and the HOA had never sent anything more serious than reminders about holiday light rules. Pouring coffee, I sat at the kitchen table where Emily, my late wife, and I used to share the morning news. Her chair had been empty for 3 years since cancer took her, but I still brewed 2 cups out of habit. The letter felt heavier than it should, and when I tore it open, the words hit like a sledgehammer: notice of violation and mandatory infrastructure fees. My dam, built 16 years ago, was labeled an unauthorized water management structure, and they demanded $927 a month starting October 1st. Signed by Margaret Hensley, HOA president, a name I didn't even recognize. This wasn't some DIY project. Emily and I built that dam after Hurricane Matthew drowned half our neighborhood in 2008. The Wilsons lost their entire basement. The Garcias had to gut their ground floor. Old Mrs. Thompson's garage collapsed. 27 homes were hit, with damages in the millions. Emily looked at me, watching our neighbors drag ruined furniture to the curb, and said, "Henry, you spent 35 years with the Army Corps of Engineers. You know how to fix this." So I did. I designed a modest earthen dam at the low point of our property, where runoff naturally pooled. Got county permits, tested the soil, used clean fill dirt, and built it to last. The county inspector signed off without a hitch. It cost us $14,000 and 4 months of weekends. Since then, it had saved those same homes during the 2015 storms, the 2019 flash floods, and again last spring. I kept meticulous records: water levels, rainfall, flow rates. By my calculations, that dam had prevented $2.8 million in damages. Now, Margaret wanted me to pay her nearly $1,000 a month to keep it on my own land. I stepped outside, coffee in hand, to check the dam. It stood sturdy in the morning light, grass thick on its slopes, wildflowers Emily planted blooming along the edges. It belonged here, built with our money, protecting our community. The phone book listed Margaret on Cedar Lane, 4 blocks away. I'd never seen her at neighborhood potlucks. But then, those had dwindled since Emily passed. I called her number. She picked up on the second ring, her voice dripping with fake honey. "Mr. Larson, I'm glad you called. That structure of yours is a serious concern. We need to discuss compliance." I cut in. "Ma'am, that dam's fully permitted. Been legal for 16 years. She didn't miss a beat. Things change. Mr. Larson, the HOA board says it's an eyesore and a liability. The fees cover our increased insurance costs." I asked for her background in hydrology or engineering. Silence. My qualifications aren't relevant. Compliance is. I pressed. What exactly are these fees for? She rattled off nonsense about maintenance, inspections, and insurance. I nearly laughed. She wanted me to pay to maintain a dam I'd kept up myself for years. When I refused, she gave me 30 days to comply or face legal remedies. The line went dead. I hired Laura Bennett, the attorney who'd handled Emily's estate. Laura, with 30 years in county law, shook her head at Margaret's letter. Henry, this is the most absurd HOA overreach I've seen. Your dam's legal, and she has no authority to charge you. We filed a counter-complaint, citing my permits and demanding she stop her collection efforts. Neighbors rallied. Mrs. Wilson brought $600 for legal fees. The Garcias chipped in $400. Even Tom Reynolds, a retired cop I barely knew, offered support. By Monday, 14 neighbors were backing me. I thought Margaret had picked the wrong fight. Then, at 6:30 a.m., on a Tuesday, I woke to the growl of an excavator in my yard. Outside, Margaret stood by a white truck with a clipboard, grinning like she'd won the lottery. Contractors were already tearing into the dam. I shouted, "What's going on?" She handed me a document with a county letterhead, Emergency Condemnation Order, signed by a James Carter from the county engineering department, a name I didn't know despite my years working with them. This is impossible, I said. No inspection. No notice. Margaret smirked. Safety emergency. Mr. Larson. Step back. My calls to Laura, the county, and the sheriff got me nowhere. The deputy shrugged, saying it was a civil matter. By 10 a.m., 16 years of engineering was a muddy heap. Water flowed freely toward the storm drains, carrying debris. I photographed everything: the fake county truck, the contractors with no permits, Margaret filming like it was a celebration. Mrs. Wilson cried. The Garcia kids stared, confused. Tom arrived, demanding Margaret's county ID. Her smile faltered as he pressed, citing state law. The contractors bolted, mumbling about permits back at the office. Margaret sped off after them. That afternoon, a flash flood warning was issued. Hurricane Nora's remnants were bringing 4 inches of rain in 10 hours. Without my dam, the neighborhood's drainage would overwhelm the old pipes. By midnight, water pooled in the crater where my dam once stood. At 1:30 a.m., Mrs. Wilson's basement flooded 4 feet deep, ruining her late husband's woodworking shop. The Garcias lost both cars in their driveway. Their kids' bedrooms were wrecked. I documented it all, calculating that my dam would have stopped 82% of the damage. Total losses hit $142,000. Margaret had the nerve to email the neighborhood, blaming me for the flooding, claiming my illegal dam redirected water. I was livid. Destroyed our protection and pinned the disaster on me. Tom and I met with the county engineer, Michael Reed, who was furious about the forged documents. My dam was textbook, he said, and its removal was engineering malpractice. He offered testimony proving it would have prevented the floods. Tom filed a lawsuit, adding flood damages. Meanwhile, Tom and I dug into Margaret's background. She'd been HOA president for 7 months, funneling $48,000 to her brother-in-law's company for inflated maintenance. Emails revealed her plan: destroy the dam, cause flooding, buy homes cheap, and flip them after fixing the flood issues with her family's company. It was a criminal scheme: fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Margaret tried to flee, listing her house and shredding documents. We caught her on camera at a storage unit, hiding evidence. Laura filed an emergency motion to freeze her assets, citing her personal guarantee on the demolition contract. At the hearing, Margaret's forged documents and emails unraveled her defense. She admitted to fraud under oath, sealing her fate. The judge froze her accounts and referred the case for criminal prosecution. The trial in October 2024 was a bloodbath. Prosecutor Rachel Evans laid out Margaret's crimes with surgical precision forged documents, stolen HOA funds, and orchestrated flooding. My former student, Dr. Claire Thompson, testified that the dam's removal guaranteed the floods. Tom presented surveillance and financial records. Margaret's defense collapsed when her hired expert was exposed for past false testimony. On the stand, Margaret snapped, ranting about teaching me a lesson. The jury took 3 hours to convict her on all counts: fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and document forgery. She got 4 years in prison, full restitution, and lost her real estate license. Her house was sold to cover damages. 7 months later, the county rebuilt my dam, bigger and better, as part of their stormwater system. Mrs. Wilson, now HOA president, reformed the organization with transparent bylaws. At the dam's dedication, the neighborhood celebrated our victory over floods and corruption. I looked at Emily's wildflowers, replanted along the slopes, and felt her pride. But here's where it gets messy. What do you think? Should I have fought harder to save the dam before it was torn down? Or was the legal route the only way? Could the neighborhood have stopped Margaret sooner if we'd paid closer attention to the HOA? And when someone abuses power like this, is prison enough? Or should they lose everything? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're rooting for justice. And subscribe to see how we keep fighting the good fight.